Hello students. After studying this module, you shall be able to define acculturation strategies and its components, identify the four major strategies of acculturation, understand the role of these four strategies in acculturation, know the various studies that empirically support the adaptation of acculturation strategies. As you have read in the previous chapter, acculturation is a dual process of psychological and cultural change. Individuals are exposed to new ways of thinking and acting, new beliefs, values, attitudes, etc. This change usually takes place when individuals belonging to different cultures come face to face, interact with each other, and share common geographical space. This chapter will familiarize you with the strategies that play an important role and dynamic role in the process of acculturation. What are acculturation strategies? The process of acculturation takes place in different ways for different individuals and groups of people. This could be reflected either in their behavior or in their attitudes. These variations in attitudes and behavior have been termed as acculturation strategies. When we talk about attitudes, we refer to the opinions and beliefs an individual holds with regard to the process of acculturation. When we talk about behaviors, the focus is on an individual's daily life activities in relation to various cultural interactions. Together, both attitudes and behaviors form the basic components of acculturative strategy. For instance, a first-generation French man lives in a neighborhood in the United States which is filled with people from his native land. He continues to speak in just French and follows the norms and traditions of his origin. His activities indicate that he has not become acculturated to the American culture. In contrast, when the granddaughter of an Indian immigrant goes to an American school and primarily spends time socializing with the Americans, dresses up as they do, and shares their values and interests, her behavior reflects high level of acculturation into the American culture. According to Berry, the basis on which an individual prefers a strategy depends on his or her orientation towards the heritage culture or the culture of origin. There are two integral dimensions with regard to people, at a cultural level and at an individual level, which play a dynamic role. Firstly, at the cultural level, two groups that belong to two different cultures will establish a connection and will indulge in certain activities such as trying to determine certain goals and finding effective ways to achieve them. In such a scenario, the changes that might take place within these two cultural groups would be as a result of the influences of different acculturation strategies. Secondly, at the individual level, a combination of changes observed in behavior along with the stress experienced due to acculturation is viewed as a contributing factor to the activities people tend to engage in during acculturation. Different strategies of acculturation as per the fourfold model. Berry 2003 has defined four acculturation strategies that an individual approaches, usually as given in the figure. The first is assimilation. It takes place when an individual tries to reduce the importance of his or her culture of origin and gives importance to increasing his or her interactions with the other or the new or dominant culture. For example, a Chinese student shifts to the United States for higher education and let go of the traditions he used to follow. He tries to fit in and adopts the American societal norms. The second is separation. It takes place when an individual strongly tries to hold on to his or her culture of origin and refuses to take an initiative to interact with people from the other or new culture. For example, an American employee is sent to take charge of the company's head office in Japan. Instead of adapting to their basic norms and language to achieve company goals, he firmly clings to his American attitudes and ways of getting work done. Marginalization. It takes place when an individual shows little amounts of involvement either in his or her own existing culture or in the other one. For example, an individual is only mildly interested in celebrating festivals of his home country and shows same level of interest when it comes to participating in those of the host country. Integration. It takes place when an individual strongly maintains his or her culture of origin as well as makes efforts to learn and know more about the other or new culture by interacting with the people, adopting their traditions, and so on. For example, a German living in India would maintain his cultural roots by conversing in his native language and trying to teach others, and would also show enthusiasm in learning more about the Indian society, participate in cultural festivities, dress up traditionally, etc. These are the 4 strategies as a result of 2 underlying issues. These issues depend on a person's approach towards their own cultural group and his or her approach towards another cultural group. The 2 main issues or questions to be asked, given below in Berry's acculturation model, are: is it considered to be of value to develop relationships with the larger society? And is it considered to be of value to maintain one's cultural heritage? According to Berry 2003, the least number of changes in attitudes and behaviors of individuals are observed among those who have chosen to implement the separation strategy, whereas the most number of changes are among those who have chosen the assimilation strategy. When it comes to marginalization and integration strategies, there are moderate levels of changes that are usually observed among individuals. Berry has suggested that those who adopt the integration strategy are likely to experience very low or negligible levels of stress. This can be attributed to the fact that such individuals undergo less amount of stress at a personal level since they are making efforts to adapt certain aspects of the new culture, hence meeting the expectations of the members of the new culture. Along with that, they are closely regarded the culture they have been a part of from the very beginning and meet the expectations of those back home. For example, family, friends, and so on. On the other hand, those who end up adopting the strategy of marginalization, either voluntarily or unwillingly, are very likely to experience high levels of stress. In fact, this has the potential to result in major psychological problems. Berry also suggests that marginalization could be a product of repeated failure to implement the assimilation strategy by an individual. The remaining 2 strategies, separation and assimilation, have been found to induce moderate levels of stress among people because it involves behaviors and attitudes that may be rejected or looked down upon by the respective families and friends. However, it is essential to remember that there are other factors that tend to influence the choice of selection of acculturative strategies by individuals. For example, the integration strategy can be chosen and implemented best in the societies that are comparatively more open, flexible, and encourage cultural diversity. A society wherein there are hardly any prejudices and stereotypes existing, the individual is more likely to acculturate positively and in a holistic manner. For instance, an American national may face problems in fitting in with Chinese traditions and norms, since that he or she hails from a culture which is primarily based on principles like individualism, open-mindedness, liberty, etc. Also, whether the choice of strategy is out of free will or out of imposition carries the potential to determine the level of stress an individual may experience. Research studies as empirical evidence for acculturation. There has been considerable amount of debate regarding the empirical basis of these 4 acculturation strategies. However, extensive studies have been conducted by Berry, Finney, Sam and Vedder in 2006, and they have revealed the existence of 4 broad distinct categories or clusters on the basis of data collected in terms of attitudes and behavior of people belonging to different cultures and cultural groups. The most number of people were found to be in the integration category or cluster, wherein individuals were found to have established a healthy communication system, learning and usage of languages of both cultures, along with equal regard and respect for both cultures. The second largest group was the one based on separation strategy and rejection of the assimilation strategy, wherein the individuals exhibited low national identity and high levels of closeness to ethnic groups, along with forming of connections with only those who belonged to the same ethnic group. This was followed by a cluster based primarily on national identity, and the people were found to hold attitudes and exhibit behaviors that were in contrast to the former cluster mentioned above. The fourth one was found to be quite similar to the marginalization on strategy. A national research program on immigration and acculturation strategies carried out by the research unit of University of Modena and Reggio Emilia in order to understand the acculturation strategies of host group members, 247 undergraduates of the university were administered a questionnaire which had measures to assess the preferred and perceived to be strategies by immigrants, the quality of connection established between the groups, the attitudes towards the Italian, that is the in-group, and the immigrant group, that is the out-group. Results showed that integration, which was 35%, was the most preferred strategy. Also, the choice of integration predicted the existence of positive intergroup relations. Immigrants are perceived to prefer integration, that is 37%, followed by assimilation, 36%. Chinese people are thought to prefer integration, 37%, followed by marginalization, 26%. Participants are also reported separation, 49%, and integration, 29%, as the most preferred strategies by Moroccans. In order to understand the acculturation strategies of immigrants, 88 immigrants were administered the questionnaire. Results showed that the preferred strategies were integration by 37% people, especially among people living close to Italian neighbors, and separation 33%, whereas preferred strategies attributed to Italians were integration 36% and exclusion 34%. Overall, the results indicated that the acculturative strategies adopted by immigrants may tend to differ from those used by the host community members. These might lead to certain patterns that may be consensual, problematic, or comprising of conflicts with the potential to affect the intergroup relationships and dynamics. Yet another research study carried out by Weihua Yu and Xu Wang in 2011 of Hangzhou Normal University and Guangdong University of Foreign Studies in China respectively aimed at finding out the preferences in acculturation strategies among Chinese students in Germany by administering a questionnaire. Their responses revealed that both integration and separation are the preferred acculturation strategies. Males prefer the separation strategies on one hand, whereas females tend to choose integration strategies. The findings also suggest that the acculturation patterns of Chinese students in Germany are characterized by certain specific cross-cultural traits due to the distinctions between the two nations, both socially and culturally. Based on Berry's work on acculturation strategies and their processes, researchers Ying Lu, Ramani, Samar Tunge and Shamin E.J. Hate in 2012 of Monash University and University of Queensland, Australia respectively, carried out an extensive study on the relationship between acculturation strategy and job satisfaction for professional Chinese immigrants in the Australian workspace. Their survey of 220 professional Chinese immigrants revealed that they have a predominant preference towards maintaining their home culture or culture of origin, and that there is a significant amount of impact on their job satisfaction. Those immigrants who adopt the assimilation strategy have reported highest levels of job satisfaction, whereas those who chose separation strategy showed lowest levels of job satisfaction. Therefore, these researches give considerable evidence to the existence of the four acculturation strategies. The integrated strategy has been found to be most widely used approach across cultures. This strategy has proven to be effective in allowing individuals to acculturate in a positive manner. The findings and analysis have attempted to provide an insight into the existing trends and preferences of acculturation strategies used by people from different cultures. This knowledge may be further used by researchers to investigate this field deeply or by various organizations and global leaders to achieve long-term objectives. Summary: variations in attitudes and behavior when people from different cultures interact are called acculturation strategies. There are two dimensions of acculturation strategies. The first is at the cultural level and the other is at the individual or psychological level. There are mainly four kinds of acculturation strategies, namely assimilation, separation, marginalization, and integration. Integration strategy has been found to be the most widely used across many cultures. It allows the establishment of positive interpersonal relations among people from different cultural settings, mutual and equal respect and regard for both cultures, and interest in adapting norms and traditions of both cultures. This serves as a contributing factor to an individual's growth and development.